Hello there. Welcome. We are the modern Doom speedrunning community. This is 100% UN tutorial. You people asked for it. Well, you got it. Actually, nobody asked for it, but we're doing it anyway. I am joined by some great people of the community. Would you like to introduce yourselves?
You want to go first, Moo?
Hi, I'm Mute, and I play this game sometimes.
Mute, why should we listen to you on a tutorial for 100% UN?
You shouldn't.
Anyway. So Mute's the current world record holder? No, wait. No, you're not.
I'm
Jesus
not.
Christ.
No, Mute's just
Soon to be world record holder.
You're number 3, right? Mute?
I'm number 3.
Yeah, so
You haven't
top
been
3,
Zelda yet? Oh my
100%
goodness.
UN player. Drake, why are you here?
Because I don't play Ultra Nightmare. I'm joking. I do play Ultra Nightmare. I just don't play this category, but I did do a lot of work to route it. So yeah, and I also play a lot of other categories. So
Yeah.
very yes.
And I'm Raitro. I am a moderator, and I'm probably also the oldest the longest runner of 100% UN, like, currently running still.
You're definitely not the oldest person, that's for sure.
Well, no, I'm just oldest person's like 114 or something.
Well, the oldest person playing in our community, I don't even know who it is. Anyway, sorry,
Blaine?
carry on.
It's Blaine or Deceiver, I'm pretty sure.
I focus more on the current patches of this game because for my runs I enforce that because I hate myself. So I'm basically gonna play Insight for if you're on a higher patch or something for this, while Mute here is going to show us the ropes really on what exactly it means to speedrun 100% at a quote unquote top 3 level. And
Suffering.
so yeah. So,
But first, we're going to start off with just explaining the rules first. Probably a good idea to do that. But also, we're going to explain the route behind it, since this is probably one of the most route-intensive categories in the game.
yeah, so many hours have been lost to just routing hundo. So, Drake
A lot of my hours, for sure.
Yeah.
So, Drake, tell me, what if I want to run 100% UN, perhaps on the restricted rule set, where would I refer to getting all these nifty rules from?
So you'd go to the speedrun.com page, and yeah, they're all there, but I'll quickly cover them here because there are some little details that are cute. So the requirements are that you collect all the weapon points, collect all the mastery tokens, collect all the suit tokens. You collect all the collectibles in a level, which can be indicated via this. But there's also an additional, this codex here, this honeycomb section. You can also check over here and see if you have everything here. You have to make sure to complete the challenges as well, right? But also there's another rule in there that says you have to collect all the codexes. Now you might think, well, we organically get the codexes anyway? Well, as it turns out, there are a few codexes that are tracked that you don't get via just in-game stuff. Well, the number one is all of the demons. All of the enemies that you get from the codex, or all the codexes you get on enemies, is by killing them. Now, we don't skip any of them. I can't think of a scenario in this category where you would skip any of these, but there are some that aren't tracked by this section over here and by this section over here. And those are the following. Here's one of them. When you unlock a suit in the Fortress of Doom, it gives you a codex for the custom suit. We're going to unlock this one because it's closest to a collectible. But in theory, I guess you could unlock this one as well, but you'd eventually have to go back and collect that collectible anyway, because Fortress collectibles are required. There are also 4, 5 codexes in Art Complex, and those are the Elena Richardson locks that you have to collect.
Yep. There's 5.
And again, those you're going to have to memorize. You're not going to know if you missed them unless you actively check for them or at the very end of the run. So at the very end of the run, you're going to be expected to open... So rather, I should explain. Because we're explaining UN, you're not going to have access to this. So you won't be able to check whether or not the level is fully complete. You're going to have to use the... I forgot to mention also, you have to have all of these things upgraded fully.
Yeah,
Probably mentioned that. You're fully upgraded on these things, fully collected the runes, etc., etc. So not only do you have to collect everything, you also have to have everything fully upgraded as well. All right? And I'll explain more details about that when we get to routing. Okay, so How do you verify for this? So first, at the end of every level, you're going to, because this is UN, you can't use this to verify. You're going to basically verify using the end screen. We'll teach you how to do that once we get to the levels proper. How to do it quickly. But once you finally finish the level and kill the Icon of Sin, you're going to let the game progress to the Fortress of Doom. You're going to open up the dossier. You're going to click through every single one of these weapons, make sure that they're all nice and orange, or if you're using it basically fully upgraded. Make sure that this is fully upgraded. You can also show Sentinel crystals here, although this is enough. Show the runes, and then scroll through each of the codexes. Make sure everything's completed.
A quick double check for if you're wondering if you got something immediately is at the top right. You should have 8 weapon points, 15 Praetor suit tokens, and 8 batteries if you use the current 100% UN route. If you put in more batteries in the Fortress of Doom earlier, you could have less, but those technically aren't required for 100%.
You could also have more
more
than 0 mastery tokens if you master more than the required amount, but that's unlikely. But basically, this I think I spent too many batteries in this save. I think I locked everything in this save, but you should have 7 if I recall correctly, right?
You should have 8.
8, excuse me. So you should have 8, 15, 0, 8. That's a sanity check. We don't use this to verify. We use the end screen. After that, you can also do another sanity check by coming down here and checking to see if you have all the toys, all the weapons, and then you can also check to see if you've collected all the cheat codes via here. This is a sanity check, isn't really required. All you need to do is make sure that at the end of the level, you check that you show that you've completed everything, and then once the Icon of Sin is finished, you make sure to show that you have upgraded everything, and that you have all the codexes, since we can't verify these things with the end of the level stuff. All right, so now let's discuss routing, unless you guys want to add anything to the rules there.
Yeah. One quick thing just to add is that this is all, how do I put it? Guaranteeing, frick. Okay, this is great to mess up in a live setting, but yeah. You know what? I had.
I guess I'll add to this something you can something we can discuss. If you miss a fortress collectible, right? If you miss something, and then you get placed here, you can restart the timer, collect everything, and the very frame you collect the last thing, like I don't know, maybe you forgot to pick up this mod bot, for example, or excuse me, this Praetor token. You come back as soon as you collect it. You can stop the timer again, and that'll be your final time.
Oh yeah, that's a very good point. If you're running classic as well, and let's say
you can also
you play through the whole campaign and you missed something in Super Gore Nest, for example, you can load back in through Super Gore Nest from the mission select, and timing ends when you collect the collectible.
Yeah, in Super Gore Nest, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's all the rules. All right, or if you ever want to interrupt with your thought that you lost earlier, let me know.
If I find it, I'll let you know.
Yeah. Okay. So now let's discuss routing. So, you're going to be required to upgrade everything, right? Which means you're going to need to master everything. Now, we don't have mastery tokens for every single weapon, so we're going to have to master some things naturally. In total, we're going to use 7 mastery tokens. So that means we only need to master 8 things. Where's the reverse? Anyway, doesn't matter. A few of these things are free. For example, Energy Shield, we're going to use a trick at the very end. I'm not sure if this trick still works on current patch. Raitro, you can let me know. Does it work on current patch, the Energy Shield trick for Icon of Sin?
Energy Shield, yes, it does.
Okay, so this still works.
Yeah, that's free.
That one's free. We'll explain it when we get to Final Sin. Right, don't worry about Energy Shield. We are going to upgrade it for safety, just only the top part for safety, but we're not going to master it until Final Sin. And there's like 7 opportunities to master it in Icon of Sin. It's very easy. Don't worry about it. Basically, what I'm saying is that it's free. So now we're down to 7. Next, we have Destroyer Blade, which is also pretty much free since it's one of the fastest ways to do most fights.
Yeah.
So it's mastery where you're required to kill 3 enemies with 1 Destroyer Blade is pretty easy to complete. Yeah. People regularly finish it just kind of casually on our complex. Yeah, like a level after they upgrade it. It's very easy.
Fight routing similar to any of the top runners, you will just naturally get 15 ticks by doing just basic combat strats that we will go.
It's very free. Yeah, it's very free. The other one we're going to master is Flaming Hook. Or rather, I'll talk about Flaming Hook later. I'll talk about Precision Bolt first. So Precision Bolt, if you're decent at getting headshots, Precision Bolt in theory should be free. Now, of course, we all miss headshots and there's plenty of opportunities. But even if you're like a newer player, I'd still recommend upgrading this mastery, even though it may not be free for you, because it's fun. Getting headshots is fun, and the upgrade is fun.
And you'll also train a bit by going for those
That's
headshots, so you'll get them more consistent in the future.
Then we have micro missiles, which is probably the most stressful of the masteries to get, because we get it a lot. Well, there's a lot of downtimes in fights, and we kind of have to wait. And so what we do is we just stick 3D. So the way you get this mastery is that you stick 3 separate demons with it. And we're going to show off some tricks to make this a little faster. Like you stick 3 demons and then you can punch and then restart, and you can stick the 3 same demons. So it doesn't have to be different demons from the last batch. The thing about this is that in order for this to be free, you do have to do quite a few ticks on Icon of Sin. And minimum, if I remember correctly, 3, maximum 6, depending on the RNG of the run before. So this is kind of stressful. You can take your time with this if you're a beginner and master this earlier and waste some times. That's fine. Icon of Sin is pretty stressful sometimes. It can be kind of scary.
Note for current patch, when we master micro missiles, is actually easier on later patches. Mainly just because Icon of Sin, which is practically an auto scroller at the top level, goes for a longer duration.
Yeah,
on
that's true.
Later patches, so you can if you want to, you can typically go in with like only 5 or even less, and you can easily get that. So one advantage, but also you lose time. But
and then finally we have Meat Hook. So the Meat Hook is useful for a variety of reasons. One, it's almost entirely free because all you have to do is just kill 50 enemies while hooking. So anytime you finish off an enemy, you can hook. In theory, this is completely free, but if you go for dedicated kills, that's fine as well. It also is important that we master it before Necrovol 2 so that it makes the Necrovol Blood Punch challenge easier, and we'll go over that as well. Okay. So let's discuss the actual route before I explain. Let me explain the actual route before I explain why we do it that way.
Before we go over the actual route, could we say a moment for notable exceptions of things that are close but not quite there?
I was going to get to that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was going to do that after. I'm going to explain what we upgrade, and then I'll explain why. Oh, I forgot one. Arbalist, of course. I forgot one. Arbalist. So Arbalist, we do get Arbalist. It is the most expensive thing to master in theory, but it is very cheap. And so those are the weapons that you're going to be looking at. Those are the weapons you just need to remember. You're going to upgrade Energy Shield at the end. You're going to upgrade Arbalist in Arc Complex. Upgrade this in Cultist Base. Upgrade Precision Bolt in Super Gornest right before Super Gornest. And Micro Missiles you're going to upgrade in Mars Core. These are the ones that you're going to be mastering. Now I'll explain the full route in full detail, and then I'll explain why specifically that. So, the route in its entirety, for weapons at least, is right after the second fight, right after the second central fight, the Rotunda fight. We'll go over where that is. The first Rotunda fight in Exultia, we're going to upgrade Bigger Boom. We're not going to upgrade Quick Rack, we're only going to upgrade Bigger Boom. And we're not going to master Sticky Bombs. I'll explain why in a second. So we're going to upgrade Bigger Boom, which increases the size of Sticky Bombs. This is very, very useful. Then we're not going to touch weapons at all. And then once we get Lock-on Burst in Cultist Base, we're going to fully upgrade it. And we're not going to master it naturally. We're actually going to spend a mastery token on it later, but we're not going to master it naturally. The first weapon that we upgrade, that we actually start mastering, is the Meat Hook in Cultist Base near the end. That's right, we start mastering our weapons at the very end of Cultist Base. I'll get to explain why. Then, like I said, with Precision Bolt, we're going to upgrade it right before Super Gornest in the Fortress of Doom. Destroyer Blade at the end of Super Gornest, or at the beginning of Arc. And then Arbalist at the end of Arc. Finally, Micro Missile at the end of Mars Core. Additionally, at the end of Mars Core, we're going to upgrade Faster Recovery for Safety, You don't need to, but this is nice for safety. It just decreases the amount of time it takes for the energy shield to recharge. Finally, once we get to Taurus Nabad, we're going to master dual lock with one of the mastery tokens that we pick up. Okay, so why are we doing it this way? Why not master Heat Blast, for example? Heat Blast is close to being free, but if we want to master it, we want to master it immediately, and that causes problems because that means we can't have Bigger Boom, and Bigger Boom speeds up a lot of minor things, a few major things, and a lot of minor things. The major things that it speeds up the Exaltia Slayer Gate, which we'll discuss when we get to it.
Yeah,
and that's the reason why we don't.
If you are like, how do you put it, really precise with your shots, Bigger Boom may not even be necessary. However, it just makes it a lot more consistent.
Yeah, it does make the Slayer Gate way more consistent, but additionally, it does speed up some other areas. You could also argue with excellent RNG, Heat Blast might not be worse, but we don't need Heat Blast. Like we're not like, of all the masteries that we have, in theory, the only one that's not free is Arbalest. Every other one of them is free, in theory, right? So we're not desperate for free masteries, and Bigger Boom really helps us in the early game.
One thing to note, as we're talking about like weapon mods that may not be free, Arbalest isn't free. There is a route that Chocolate Vanille does or did when they ran the game, where they would actually master stickies over Arbalest.
Yeah, I was gonna go over that. Yeah. So the reason why we're not mastering stickies is just because is just a matter of semantics. It's like there's just few enough. There's a few other details. There's just few enough. Sorry, let me start again. The mastery requires that you break the turret of a spider with stickies. There's just not that many. Like there's a lot of free spiders, but there's not as many free spiders as there are free Cacodemons for the Arbalest mastery. That's essentially how the math works out. Additionally, it delays. By upgrading something early, like starting to master something as soon as possible, you can't get fully upgraded lock-on burst. And having upgraded lock-on burst in the early game does help in some scenarios. So there's a few factors. You can feel free to upgrade stickies early and then modify the route a little bit. You can also do Heat Blast. It's not that big of a deal. A lot of the things I'm explaining here, they save seconds between routes, maybe 10, 20 at the most extremes. I'm explaining the most optimal one, but you can really go with either stickies or plasma right away rather than starting to upgrade later.
You can be like the great runner Frosty Zen who mastered Heat Blast in Art Complex.
Oh god.
Yeah, I
do remember.
Which isn't optimal. However, they do have a really good time in 100% UN, so it is viable if you want it to be.
I'd still recommend learning this route because you can follow what better players are doing, and I actually just think it's the funnest route, like of them all. I actually think it's the funnest route. Like there's very little sitting around farming, Heat Blast and Microwave Beam. I'm not going to get into details about stuff like Microwave Beam, why you shouldn't master it. It's kind of bad. This mobile turret was a candidate at one point in time to be mastered. That's not very good. Remote debt, too expensive. We could start Micro Missile Precision Bolt early. There's a bunch of reasons not to. Full auto, ha 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 ha, very funny. But that's the general guideline behind it. Now I'm going to quickly cover what upgrades we're going to get for the suit. So the first upgrade we're going to get is Hot Swapper, because this is a combat heavy category. We want to be able to change weapons very quickly because it speeds up killing fights. Then we're going to get Faster Dasher because that lets us move faster. And then we're going to get Grappler because that lets us mantle a little faster. It's not that big of a deal. Now, after that, it really is kind of, you would think like a lot of these upgrades are super powerful. No, not really. So the next upgrade we're going to get is Frag Stock Up and Explosive Pinatas and Thicker Skin. Frag Stock Up helps us with doing the Doom Hunter bosses a little faster. It's actually not even that much faster. These grenades allow us to skip a chainsaw on Arc Complex. Or excuse me, the barrel ammo allows us to skip a chainsaw on Arc Complex.
One note on that upgrade that's really important. For more current patches where fast traveling is less viable for certain strats, and Super Gore Nest, it's actually super helpful to get Explosive Pinatas because that also routes out a chainsaw or two.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know about current patch. I don't know how fast traveling works in current patch, but what we're going to explain is Explosive Pinatas. Basically, you get these at Doom Hunter base. So we have these three, and then we're going to get spend a long time not having any more upgrades, and then suddenly we're going to get these 3 upgrades when we're fighting the boss in the middle of the boss fight.
Do you not get the faster Manslayer, the bottom orange one?
Yeah, we do. We get Grappler just because we can.
Oh yeah, I was wondering if you'd got it right at the Doom Hunter base because you have one.
No, we get it in Cultist base like immediately, pretty much.
Oh, all right. I didn't know that actually.
Yeah. After that, it's like they're all nice. These are all nice upgrades. Like we're going to get Frostbite and Permafrost. Frostbite increases the damage done to demons when they're frozen, but the damage doesn't seem nearly as much. The absolute value is that it increases damage by 25%, which sounds like a lot, but that only means that we can 4-shot a demon instead of 5-shot it. Like that's the type of time save we're talking about with this. Like this isn't that good of an upgrade to get earlier. Or we can 2-shot it instead of like 2.5-shot it, where we have to like, let's say we're SSG, PB, SSG, instead we get SSG dead swap SSG. That's the difference between this upgrade. We kind of just get it because we can. And the rest of them, the same thing. Incidentally, we kind of just get it. Fast Rise cooldown. Fast Rise cooldown does help in later levels, but we're so flush with tokens that we just kind of get it whenever. So if you want more details, we'll go over them when we get to those levels. Finally, I want to bring up the runes since this is a little bit important. If you're playing on patches later than 6.2, I believe, you can safely get Blood Fueled as your second rune. Your first rune's always going to be air controlled. Not even going to explain why. You'll see. The reason why I'm covering this Blood Fuel is because there's a chance that when you fire the BFG at the very end of the Blood Fueled speed boost, like second half, I believe, I can't remember the details, that the game will crash. So this might mean that you have to slow down where you shoot the BFG or shoot it uncomfortably earlier to miss this window. I recommend personally that you don't get Blood Fueled at all because the benefits are minimal. However, some other runners are perfectly comfortable with it. Mute's probably going to get it. But the other alternative, if you're worried about crashes, is to get Equipment Fiend. That'd be my recommendation. If you want perfect safety, then you can get Dazed and Confused, which makes faltered enemies stay faltered for about 1 trillion years. You can also get Saving Throw. Whatever path you get, make sure you get Savagery second and Saving Throw fourth if you haven't gotten it already. And then after that, it doesn't matter what you get. Whatever. So, reminder, first rune, Air Control, second rune, Blood Fueled, Equipment Fiend, Saving Throw, whatever. I recommend Equipment Fiend or Blood Fueled. Third rune is always going to be Savagery because it's going to help. This one's actually going to save time. It's going to help us. It's going to make the glory kills on the Doom Hunter bosses faster. And then the fourth one should always be, at the very least, Saving Throw, and then the rest of it doesn't matter.
Yeah. One thing to note on the Blood Fueled, when we get to like those sections to where Blood Fueled could possibly like BFG crash you, we'll be sure to mention it and how to counteract it at those points.
Yeah. I think one more thing I can mention is the Sentinel crystals. This is an area of hot contention, and by hot contention I mean I'm the only one who says you should do this, but everyone doesn't want to because they're too scared. And that is, you're going to see everybody get Loot Magnet. I recommend you get Armor for Blood. Now, if you're a beginner and you're playing Ultra Nightmare, get Loot Magnet. Just get Loot Magnet, right? When you hear me, if you come across one of my streams and you hear me bitch about how all these Hundo runners don't get Loot Magnet, I'm bitching because they're good enough to get Armor for Blood. I think they're good enough to not die. That is me respecting them. But if you're a new player, just get Loot Magnet and ignore the grumpy old DrakePHOSE, okay? Just get Loot Magnet. The routing of these crystals is based on BFG ammo. Whenever you pick up an ammo crystal, it refills your BFG. So that's why we get ammo crystals. The rest of them, it kind of just depends. A general principle, if you're not confused and you can't remember what the route doc says, remember when to pick up your ammo. That you have to remember. But if you forget everything else, like I know where to pick up the ammo, but I don't know which one to pick up otherwise, a general rule of thumb is that more health is better. If you have higher armor, it's harder for that higher armor to be refilled compared to health, where if you're low, demons will always drop health, and they'll drop more of it the more HP you have, the more your max HP has. So we're going to get Loot Magnet / Armor for Blood. Then we're going to get Quick Draw Belch because it decreases the cooldown of Flame Belch, and that's very helpful. And then after that, we're going to get Armor for Blood or Health for Blood because it'll help us refill Blood Punch for some specific areas. And then the rest of them doesn't really matter. But generally, if you're lost, just get Health and don't worry about it. And Loot Magnet, Quick Draw Belch, are great safety strats. All right. I say all of this, but Lord knows in like a month or two or a year, it's going to be outdated. So if you want the most up-to-date route, I recommend you check out the route doc. Now, I'm going to quickly gloss over it because it's kind of technical. Primarily, the top-level runners use it, like myself, to figure out where everything goes because it's hard because everything can get lost. I'm going to quickly teach you how to navigate it, but yeah. So this route has everything. It tells you what mods to upgrade, when to chainsaw, when to nade, blah, blah, blah. There's a legend up here. It even tells you which ticks to get. So for here, in this fight, you're going to get an Arbalest tick, for example, right? Obviously, if you're a new player, you're not going to know what half this shit means. Like, what is this? This is actually a fight name. And we're going to go over this fight. It's telling us to skip this fight. In this fight, you're chainsawing an imp. In the Fortress of Doom after, you're getting this upgrade. When you pick up the rune, you're picking up air control. That type of stuff. I wouldn't worry about it, but if you're wondering like what's the latest version of the route, if you're watching this video like a year from now, then you can probably check this area and you can check, okay, this is where they're upgrading. Here's where they upgrade Bigger Boom. Here's their mod. Here's the lock and burst, etc., grappler, etc. Of course, very kind of technical. You have to know a lot of terms like what in God's name does this mean, etc., etc. But I just want to put that out there in case y'all are curious. Okay. Have I missed anything, Raitro?
No, I think you're fine. It might be useful to show them the encounter doc, though, where we have all the fights organized.
Okay, yeah, that is kind of important.
Because in 100%, especially if you're running restricted, you have to do a lot of fighting here, and this document is just super handy for literally knowing what demons are in what fight and what are the clear conditions for it.
I also want to point out the location doc as well. It also has all this. If you're saying, "Oh, I don't like that route, that's stupid," this doc also has info like where all the spiders in the game are. It shows off things like where the fight route is. These are fast travel locations, and then you can click on a certain area. Like if this had the two swords here, that's a fight. You can click on it, and then it'll open that part of the encounter doc that features that fight. Central Rotunda 1. Right? All these are linked there. So with this encounter doc is another technical document. I would say it's even more technical than the route doc that we have over here. And this one shows you the properties of each fight. It includes fights that are just progress with intended play, which is marked by this, and fights that are marked as combat encounter on the map, which you can actually see. On a map, you'll see two swords on an area, and usually those fights provide weapon points. Usually. Only on Hell on Earth do they not provide weapon points. In every other level, if this fight has a sword next to it, you have to do it because it provides weapon points. So just a basic way to read this document. Each fight comes in waves or in groups. After you meet the conditions of the wave, of the next wave, that wave will start. So in this, we have wave 1. It tells you what spawns in that wave. Then there's wave 2. It tells you the condition for that wave to start. It says dead. The Kaku of the first wave. Okay, I have two encounter docs open. And then the next one, dead Kaku of the first wave. It even gives some details and stuff like that. There's some more complicated ones. Like there's this, my favorite one to show off is this one, which is absolutely wild. This fight's ridiculous. You don't need to know the details, like at all, pretty much. But if you're curious, if you're like, I want to figure out a better fight route, this document's a great start. The text that's in white is usually things like, oh, I don't know what's happening here. This needs to be updated. Like these are author notes, basically. That's what the white text means. It is quite massive, as you can imagine, and quite technical. But the info is there if you want to use it. If you're like curious, like what's happening here, what's this fight, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. Is there anything else?
On terms of everything above the board besides actual level, I think that's good. Mute, got anything?
No. You guys cleared up everything.
Okay, I will now go grab some water to drink. My parting gift to y'all is get armor for blood. Off to you, Mute.
Yeah, so people who are, first section, if you're watching this on YouTube, hi, you should look in the description below where I'll probably link every single thing that we talked about here today. Take a look at it, do that. And for people on the Twitch stream, just hang up just hold on for a quick. The stream's going to go down for a sec, and we will be live right back up so that, we can get higher quality for y'all.
Oh, stream's gonna go down?
Yeah, stream's going to go down, and, well, we can talk about this during the break. So yeah, give us a quick second, people. We'll be right back with actual level demonstrations.